Hey Lawn Care Nation, so in this video I'm going to talk about how to get clients to convert to a credit card on file type payment system. And I'll be sure you stay all the way to the end of this video where I'm going to share 5 tips to help make converting those clients a lot easier. So hey Lawn Care Nation, I recently had a comment left on one of my previous videos that I did on how I price leaf cleanups. I'll leave a link to that video at the end of this one if you haven't watched it yet and you're interested in seeing how I do that in my lawn care business. But that person went to ask, how do you get all clients' credit cards on file, and can you make a video on that? So here we are. So to answer the question in simple terms on how I got customers to sign up for credit card on file, simply I made it no other option. It's the only form of payment I accept in my lawn care business. I basically drew a line in the sand. It's credit card on file or I don't work for you. So this is something that has to happen on a policy level for your business. Like I said, for me, it was the only option going forward. I don't accept cash from clients. I don't accept checks from clients. It's credit card or nothing. And you have to be willing to walk away from potential business if a client is not comfortable or doesn't want to pay by credit card on file. In fact, I've even done this with commercial properties that say, they only pay net 90 days or whatever, terms that they pay on. I've refused to take on commercial clients like that and said, I only accept credit cards. And lo and behold, they came up with a credit card number to give me to have on file. So I found that sticking with the policy and holding firm was the best way to get customers to convert. Obviously, if they aren't comfortable, and there's been a handful of times in those past 14 years, probably about 5 times in total, where a customer has refused to pay by credit card on file, and I lost the job because of that. So this may be tough to do at first. The thought of walking away from potential work because they don't want to pay by credit card. But for me, it was simply just remembering why I wanted to have a credit card on file system to begin with. And so after a couple of cases of having to go to clients' properties after they would either ignore emails or not return voicemail calls, and I'd have to show up at their house, basically like stake out their house and see if their car is in the driveway in the evening around supper time, and then knock on the door sort of unannounced, and then have to ask them for a check then and stuff. That became very tiresome pretty quick, and it just wasn't something I enjoyed doing. And also having to go back and forth, it was just a waste of time, a waste of fuel, and in the end, any profit I was making on those jobs, I was losing with the multiple trips and having to constantly be nagging these customers to pay me what I was due. So here's 5 tips that I can share that I've used over the past 14 years that I've been accepting credit cards to help make that transition to credit cards on file for customers a lot easier. So tip number 1, as mentioned previously, is make it the only option available for payment in your lawn care business, and be willing to walk away from customers or work that don't want to pay by having a credit card on file. So tip number 2, make it clear that this is your policy on your website, on invoices, and in conversations when you're talking to clients either on the phone or face-to-face on the job site, looking at the property to quote the work. Always mention that your payment system is credit card on file. So tip number 3 is always use email for your quotes in your business. So even if I'm with a client face-to-face and we're walking the property and taking a look at the job, I won't tell them what the quote is verbally. I always tell them that I'll email them the quote later on that evening. So this does a couple of things. Number 1, it gives me time to think about the job in more depth. I'll a lot of times take photos of the property as I'm walking around, and I can refer back to those photos and look at them, and you don't feel pressured there on the spot having to tell a customer a price. The second reason I do this, and most importantly, is that in that email I can have a template in my notes app or something that lays out all of the company policies, including the credit card on file, how I bill if it's once a month like I do, and all of your other policies, like what happens with dog waste if you arrive on your mowing day and there's dog waste piles everywhere, what happens in the fall if the lawn is covered in leaves, and all those sorts of things, trampolines and furniture and toys, all that sort of stuff, if they're all strewn about the lawn. What are your policies pertaining to that? It's a lot easier to have that all thought of in advance, written out in a template type form, where you can then copy and paste it into an email and you send that to the client with the actual price that you're quoting for that lawn mowing job. So the other thing that this does is that when they accept that email and say they want you to go ahead with the work, they're going to respond to that email and tell you to go ahead. And what this does is it also basically is having them accept all of those terms and conditions that you've written in that email. So, when the fall comes around, if you show up and there's leaves on the lawn, you can automatically go ahead and clean them and add that surcharge. Or if there's dog waste on a lawn when you go to mow it and you go and clean that up, or whatever your policy is to deal with that, you can go ahead and add that to the mowing price that day. And there's no issue with you then having to get permission or whatever to bill that directly to their credit card, because they've already previously accepted your quote along with all of those terms and conditions. So tip number 4 is keep it simple with once a month billing. So instead of having to charge a credit card each time you're there for mowing, I would say just keep a running tab in whatever accounting software you're using and bill those customers once a month. It makes it a lot easier for them to then go through their credit card bill and see that one single charge to their credit card from your company. And then you can follow that up by giving them a paper invoice or email invoice that is completely detailed and itemized with what days you were there, what services you performed, what surcharges were added, and then that exact same matching total that was billed to their credit card. So tip number 5, if any issues ever arise, always refer back to the original estimate and the policies that were agreed to. So if the customer brings up anything like why you were there on a particular day to mow, or why you charged them for a leaf cleanup or for dog waste or whatever the case may be that was previously agreed to, always just email them and say that you're just following the original estimate and all of the policies that they had originally agreed to. Be sure to include that original estimate with the original pricing and everything that you wrote them, with the attached email string there showing that their initial response of telling you that they accept and for you to go ahead with the job. This will eliminate any issues. In most cases, customers will just basically forget what they previously agreed to, and once they see that in writing with their response, there's really not much that they can complain about. So even though there are other ways that customers can pay by credit card these days, you can send them a link that they can click on to pay. You can have some sort of payment system on your website that they can log into and pay. Having credit card on file is still the only way that I would do business, just because it puts me in control. I don't have to wait for them to click on that link and to pay, where they can still be late and still forget and still need reminders and all that sort of stuff. I know that on that last day of each month, I'm the one that's going to put those charges through on their credit card, and it just completely eliminates all of those headaches of chasing money. So that's it for this one, guys. Hope you guys found value in this content. Let me know in the comments below what you think, or if you use a credit card on file type system in your lawn care business.